yeah. Up early in the morning, getting the kids ready for school. Rise and grind, yeah. Pack a lunch or two. Talking about I gotta be at work in a few, yeah. Hey, for your daily news, hey. Grinding just for you, yeah. When you don't have a clue, yeah. Ain't got the scoop for you, yeah.
Yes. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. We do this every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's the Rise and Grind Morning Show. So we got today, the month of January, we celebrate men in business. And when we think about business, we a lot of times when it comes to our skin tone, people say we don't handle business properly and things like that. And I think that's a very incorrect statement to make. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our host that's in the building today. He go by the name of D. Jones, ladies and gentlemen. D. Jones, speak to him, babe.
Good morning. Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday to
D. Jones,
you.
D. Jones
Happy Thursday.
D. Jones is one of the greatest comedians out in the metropolitan area of Detroit. So, in case you don't know, now you know. This month has been a great month. We have interviewed many great men in the building over the software, video. But today, I have the pleasure to bring one of the greatest speakers, one of the greatest men, let alone black men I ever met in my life. I know I'm kind of over exuberated, like uberific D.
Okay.
Because when we think about excellence and black excellence, the package this man come in is incredible.
All right.
He speak very profoundly. He don't mind telling his age at all.
Okay.
And I know your gears call success over sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say this man probably put success over sleep all the time. He go by the name none other than Dr. George Frazier.
Good morning.
Good morning in the house.
He's in
Good
the
to
house.
see you.
Same
God
here,
bless
George.
you for all the incredible work that you do, man. You are just a giant among our people, really, in terms of what you do and how you do it and why you do it. And I love you for that. And thank you so much, man, for having me on and being patient with all of the mess I had to deal with in the previous schedules. But I'm here and I'm excited. And, you know, you are a giant in terms of business yourself, in terms of what you've done, where you started, how you got to where you are. You know, it's just an honor to be here and to be with you.
Thank you. I want to start right off the bat. So D Jones don't know too much about about the conference, Dr. Frazier. So can you give a brief introduction of what the conference is about, your conference?
Well, the Power Networking Conference is celebrating its 20th year this year. We were hoping it would be live in Houston, but Black folks are not going to be meeting with 1,500 other Black folks in a ballroom in Houston, Texas by July, because that's when the conference was planned live. And so we are going to do a virtual conference. So this is our second one. We had to do it last year. We're going to have to do it this year. But this is a conference where people connect. And they find new resources, they find new connections, they meet some of the best and brightest Black speakers and subject matter experts on the planet. People call this sort of the Super Bowl for speakers and subject matter experts. And so we got celebrities, we've got, everybody from T.D. Jakes to Boyce Watkins to you name it. They have spoken at our conference over the last 20 years. But it's a place you come where you want to meet new people. You want to establish the kind of bonds that's necessary and build a kind of network that is necessary to take yourself and to take your family, but most importantly, to take your business to the next level. Over the last 20 years, over 5,000 people out of the 40,000 people that attend have increased their business by $1.5 billion. They've added new business to their business by meeting the right people, making the right connections, learning the right information on how to grow, how to systemize your business. I tell Black folks all the time, if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. I don't know what the hell you have, but it ain't a business. So it's about developing a system that can be replicated, duplicated, and scaled. And this is what you'll learn how to do at the Power Networking Conference. It's August the 11th through the 14th this year. And it's going to be our global virtual Power Networking Conference. We have a very special platform. It is a platform like brothers and sisters have never seen. We just won a big award for our virtual conference last year as best in class. Our class was conference class. So I'm excited about putting it on. I'm excited about the people we have lined up for this year. Again, a lot of celebrities. And most importantly, subject matter experts and brothers and sisters who just know business from beginning to end. And yes, that's the only thing we discuss at our conference. We do not discuss social issues. Social issues are important, but we leave that for the NAACP, the Urban League, the Congressional Black Caucus. Ours is about business and money. Business and money, and building the proper relationships and the proper networks to get you the business that you need to close the income and wealth gap between Black folk and white folk. And yes, I am Black, in case you were not entirely sure, audience out there. That is the beauty of our culture and race. We come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, and hair textures. I pride myself on being 75 years old and an elder, not just an old person, but an elder. And an elder is one who reaches down and lifts up and reaches back and pulls forward and teaches and shares the knowledge that he or she has learned through their life. So I've had a very successful life. In 2016, President Obama presented me the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm in the Business Hall of Fame and Museum with John H. Johnson and Earl Graves. And the accolades go on and on. I really don't like talking about myself, but that's, it's just in case I look strange to you. And you're going to find out that I'm not strange, that I'm straight, no chaser, and I can't help from being straight, no chaser, because I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York, and I just roll like that. I live in Cleveland, Ohio now, but the first 22, 23 most formative years of my life were on the streets of Brooklyn. And so you'll find out that I roll like that, I talk like that, and every now and then my New York accent will come out. I've been in Ohio a long time, so I have somewhat of a Midwest accent. But when I get rolled up, and that New York comes out, that street comes out.
the hood come out in you, Dr. Frazier.
That's right, and I'm bidialectal. Right, I can speak it too. I can speak the King's English, and I can speak street too. So you'll see.
That's what's up. So let's talk about one of your books, Success Runs in Our Race. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you hear that immediately, people automatically divide people, and to me, I think they should, so they get a better understanding of what's going on. Because we are in a race, to me.
That's right.
And so what was your main goal when you decided to write that book? And how did you come up with the title?
I wanted a title that said two things. right? And you said one of them. I wanted to talk about race, our race, because that's number one. And I wanted to talk about the race to the top or the race to the bottom. Right now, we're in a race to the bottom. Black people are financially illiterate. I mean, let's just get real, Miles. We are at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters in America. We have gone backwards in the last 50 years. So I wanted to talk about the things that we need to do to get ourselves going. And that is about basically building the proper connections, building the proper relationships that are necessary for a race to rise. And unless we connect the dots, unless we leverage more effectively our collective resources and intellectual capital, unless we understand how powerful we are, who we really are. That's the powerful is one thing, and who we really are is extraordinarily important. We are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves. No, Europeans did not come to Africa, pull us out of trees eating bananas. That is not true. We civilized this world. Make no mistake about that. So we are an awesome and powerful people, except the language and the media and the misinformation that has been fed to the general public about Black people on this earth has really damaged how we think about ourselves. And we have to fix that. White folks ain't fixing that. I've said this 100 times. White people are not going to fix Black people. Right? White people are not even thinking about Black people. Do you know who white people are thinking about? They're thinking about white people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their grandchildren, their neighborhoods, their businesses, and your pockets. That's what they're thinking about. Right. So we're going to have to do it. Brothers like you and your partner, Miles. What's your partner's name again? I like his sunglasses.
D. Jones.
D. Jones.
D. Jones?
Yes, sir.
D. Jones.
Yeah. D. Jones. I like the way I like D. Jones's attitude. I like your attitude too, with your beard, your goatee, your bald head. You look powerful. You look intimidated. You look like you take no shit. And that's really where we have to go. But most important, we have to start. The foundation is to start with building relationships, because you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? And the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already where you want to be. I tell brothers and sisters all the time. What do I mean by that? Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, my brothers and sisters, it's because you don't have the right people in your life. And you have to understand, if you're going to be in business, and most of us are in some sort of business, whether we're working somebody else's business or whether we're working our own business, understand that business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in is the business of building relationships. The reason I'm on this Zoom call this morning is because I have a friendship and relationship with Miles. That's how it happened. He called me up, said, "Can you do this?" I said, "Absolutely." Right? No questions asked, because I know, love, and respect him. It is a relationship. He handles his business. I handle my business. Right? So you're going to have to work on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships, and getting away from the mistakes that we make. There's a talk that I give all the time when I'm out on the circuit speaking. The 7 biggest mistakes you make when networking that ruins your reputation and destroys your business. And so this is what we're going to have to fix. We have to get together to get ahead. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. So unless Black people put Black people first, Black people will always be last. We have to fix that. No one's going to fix that for us but us. It's been 400 years. It ain't fixed. Right? Who are we waiting on?
Yeah.
I have a question. You said, because I agree with everything you said, that we are last. Is it something to do with generational wealth? Because it doesn't seem like us as black folks have gotten to that point. Maybe we're starting now because people are starting businesses, but can you speak to the importance of generational wealth?
Yes, Proverbs 13:22. This is our spiritual teachings. Proverbs 13:22 says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That's what we are supposed to be doing, right? So that is the transfer of intergenerational wealth. And this is one of the reasons I developed the WINS Wealth Building Centers and Curriculum 15 years ago, where we installed this system for financial education in historically black churches, social and civic organizations, fraternities, and sororities, which is to help us to become literate on why and how we must build intergenerational wealth. There's 75 modules in my curriculum, but it all comes down to 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. There are 4 pillars, right? One is the proper management of accumulated wealth. Right. There are 35,000 black millionaires in America. There are 2.2 million black households worth over $400,000. Most of that is tied up in real estate. The question is, are we properly managing that wealth? Can we ever stop hearing about or reading about an athlete or an entertainer who earns $100 million in their career, and within 5 years of retirement, they're either broke or in bankruptcy? That is the improper management of accumulated wealth. But not all black people are broke. There are plenty of black people that have money, but are they properly managing that, right? Are we winning? And I don't think financially that we're winning, right? I think that, and let me say it differently. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. You ain't winning. Louis Vuitton is winning. Armani is winning. Gucci is winning, right? Nike is winning. We're not winning, right? And so we are going to have to fix that. That is on us. No one is going to fix that for us but us. That is the bottom line. That is how we have to roll in the 21st century. Make no mistake about that. And let me just add one other point, and I know it's a long answer to your question, but it was a deep question. It is the question.
Yeah.
It's a deep question, right? To be black and beautiful means nothing in this world unless you're black and powerful. We cannot be black and proud and niggas too.
Right.
White folks are planning for 3 generations, and we're planning for Saturday night. Again, the goal is to win, not to look like we're winning. It is interesting to me that the rich stay rich by pretending to be poor, and the poor stay poor by pretending to be rich, right? If nothing changes, we are headed into a second slavery. And this is not just some hyperbole. This is not just some theory. You've got to read the books. You've got to read the studies. There's a very interesting study published April of 2018 by the Institute of Policy Studies. And here's what it said, all right? It said that by 2053, 10 years after the majority becomes the minority, if nothing changes among African Americans, black household median wealth will be 0, which means we will have functionally worked our way into a second slavery. Try to operate in a market-based economy in a democratic capitalist society without money. No, you will be enslaved. So we've got about 30 years to get our act together and to become financially smart and to understand what those pillars are. And we know that the first pillar is the intergenerational transfer of wealth, proper management of our accumulated wealth. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is real estate. Yeah. What's the first thing God gave Adam? Real estate. What's the first thing God gave Isaac? Real estate. Real estate. They ain't making anymore. Real estate is the cornerstone for most family wealth. We've been over here since the Mayflower, Miles. True. And we own the fewest number of homes per capita of any cultural group in this country. Now, we know that there are lots of institutional and structural reasons why we are so far behind the ball, right? But that was then and this is now. Real estate, brothers and sisters, folk. I made my first fortune in the 1970s buying 2 and 3 family homes. I bought almost a whole block of 2 and 3 family homes. This is in the 70s. I wasn't flipping them. I was buying them because the Polish people in the Buckeye neighborhood of Cleveland saw some black people moving into their neighborhood, Miles, and they decided they wanted to get the hell out of there. So they were selling their homes for pennies on the dollar, and I bought all of them. All right. And I turned them into Section 8 housing, first class Section 8 housing, because I knew that the government paid the most per rental rates. Right. And I kept those houses for 13 years and then sold them to the people who were living in the houses. Right. So these were people who were on welfare. I promised them if they took care of the house, if they treated it like it was theirs, that someday it would be theirs. And I did that. And I made a lot of money doing that. So real estate is critically important. The third pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is business. This is what we're talking about today. Business ownership, entrepreneurial thinking. This is critically important, right? 95% of our people have jobs, right? So we have to ultimately, by the end of the 21st century, as a people, black people must become the #1 employer of their own people.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because that's the only way to raise up the poor, is to create work and jobs for your people. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews. Asians are the #1 employer of Asians. East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians. Arabs are the #1 employer of Arabs. We ultimately must become the #1 employer of our own damn people. That is on us, and you do it through creating and building businesses. Are we moving in the right direction? Yes. We're at 2.5 million businesses. Now, a pandemic is hit. 40 to 50% of those businesses will be out of business by the end of this year. That's what all the statistics are saying. That's going to set us back a whole generation. So business is very difficult to develop, but we've got to stay the course. We've got to still start and build and rebuild the businesses that we're going to lose, because we've got another year of this pandemic, and black people are hurting. Certainly black business people, because we're mostly small business people, small, say small volume. Right. When I talk about that. So that's the third pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. And then the fourth pillar no one ever talks about, and that is proper insurance. Proper insurance, right? 60% of all wealth is transferred tax-free through strategic and tactical placement of proper insurance. There was an interesting article in the New York Times on black people and their cell phones. And what did they find in this article? They found that more black people had insurance on their cell phones than on their lives, or the lives of their children, by a factor of 10. So we value our cell phones more than we value our lives or the lives of our children.
That is
right.
Crazy.
So if you want to transfer wealth, you're going to have proper insurance. If you're going to fulfill our spiritual teaching, this is what we learn in church, right? Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. If we're going to do that, we have got to change how we look at money, how we understand about money, the things that make us broke, because we don't even talk about money.
No, we don't.
We have to talk about money. So that's a long rant, but that's a great question.
No, that wasn't a rant. You was hitting points on.
That's why I asked it.
So, right. Dr. Frazier. So, in this time, at the time of a pandemic, how do you suggest people in business move forward? Yes.
Well, we are God's most creative and innovative people. So this is a time for all black people, especially in business, to create, to innovate, and to pivot. That's exactly what I'm doing. Pivoting. I'm using technology. I'm doing the kinds of things that you are doing, Miles. I'm using this platform to give talks. I earned, and I'm not bragging, $400,000 a year speaking around the world. Well, I haven't spoken for a year. and I will not be speaking for another year. Right? So that zeroes out my wealth, right? My annual income. So what am I going to do? How am I going to replace that? I'm going to have Zoom conferences. I'm going to have Zoom webinars. Right? I'm going to have classes that teach financial education and business development on Zoom. And I'm going to tap into my 1.2 million person network. I have one of the largest network of African Americans in the world. And I'm going to promote. I'm going to give them value. I'm going to make it easy for them to learn because they don't have to travel anywhere to see me, right? They can just Zoom me. They can do it in their bunny slippers, in their bathrobe at home, in the comfort of their home. And so I am creating new products that take advantage of this technology. We have to do that. You're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to figure out what is your main product. Right? If you can't turn that into a technologically based product, right? How can you perform that product, right, in a safe kind of way and sell the safety of doing your product? So let's say you're a maintenance person, you have a maintenance business, all right? Well, I look at the brother that owns the maintenance of my office building here, and when they come into my office every night at 5 o'clock, they practice social distancing. They're wearing a mask. They're spraying down my office for me to make sure that there's no coronavirus. So what they sold the people who own the business on is that we have an excellent maintenance company. We do great work, and we do it safely, and we protect your tenants from the pandemic. And these are the things that we do. Well, this brother has more business now than he has ever had because of the way he has approached his business. So you're going to have to think outside of the box,
True.
Brothers and sisters. Make no mistake about that. You're going to have to look at financial instruments, financial investments, right? That you don't have to be in the place to do them, right? And creating those investments, or at least getting involved in those kinds of investments. What are you doing in the crypto space?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, right.
What are you doing in the Forex space? What are you doing in the foreign exchange space? Right? How are you playing the stock market? Right? What are the things that you're doing online using technology, using financial technology, it's called fintech, right? To expand your portfolio, double your streams of income. There should not be a black person in America with a single stream of income. And there are a number of ways to make money, right? And there's 7 basic streams of income. So you have to think outside of the box. We're going to have to deal with this for another year. So you're going to have to think creatively, right? And you're going to have to get your hustle on, as we all do. As I had to get my hustle on, and I had to think of different ways that I can deliver my products and services that are safe, but still relevant, that can still save you money, earn you money, and help you create ideas to take your business to the next level. This is, in a sense, this is a blessing. This is how I look at it, because I try to look at things positively. This is a blessing. God has shut us down.
Yes.
And has said to us, you're going to have to survive and thrive in a different kind of way, which means you're now going to have to use your imagination, and you're going to have to use your mind. You're going to have to think of doing some things in your business, in your life, that you've never made time to do. You're going to have to do some reading. You're going to have to do some research, and you're just going to have to think about it differently. This Zoom, right? This Zoom calls. Right. This ain't going away even after the pandemic is over.
This is going to continue.
Right? People are grooved into this. This is just so easy now to, in fact, meet and to learn and to grow. Yeah. So that's on us. And so everybody has ways that, in fact, they can think differently about their business, right? Or they will have to find them a side hustle with people who are thinking different. publicly about their business. They may have to become a part of the gig economy. Everybody knows what the gig economy. The gig economy is this economy where all of these restaurants and bars and other services are you can call them and you can take stuff out. Right? This is how many restaurants are surviving, because they're down to 25% capacity in their restaurant. Right. So their takeout business has doubled, right? Yes. So the gig economy of the people that work for the restaurants and the bars and so forth, who deliver the grocery stores, and they are the deliverers. Right? Gotcha. They are the deliverers, and they pay $15 to $20 an hour, making sure that the stuff that people order over the phone are delivered properly and to the proper address in a safe kind of way. That's part of the gig economy. It used to be the Uber economy, right? Well, it is now into delivering of products and services. So there are lots of ways you got to, if you just got to do the work, because everything you want in life is on the other side of hard. This is not easy. If it was easy, why would God need you? Right. Correct. So we're just going to have to man up and woman up and do what we know how to do. And that is to hustle.
Mm-hmm. I got another question for you. When it comes down to reading, how important it is for an entrepreneur to read?
Oh,
well,
wow.
I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for those people who don't read.
I know that.
Okay.
I know that. I mean, there's the ultimate question, Miles. Socrates said that the only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. The Bible says, Hosea 4:6, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Yeah. You've heard that, right? Everybody's heard that. Right? We've said it many, many, many times, right?
Right.
What we don't hear is the rest of that passage. There's a deep part of that passage that we don't hear. No one ever says it. So the passage goes like this, Hosea 4:6, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. For thou hast rejected knowledge, I therefore reject you. You shall be no priest to me. So this is God saying to you that if you reject knowledge, I reject you. Get out of my face. You can't even talk to me. Now you see what's behind me, right? I'm in my office. I'm not in my house.
And that's
right. There's 1,000 books in my office. Right? There are 15,000 books in my home. I read 100 books a year. I don't have any earned degrees. I have a high school diploma in carpentry. Malcolm X got out of prison and he self-taught himself because he became a ferocious reader.
Yes.
Right? Now I have 3 honorary doctorate degrees for my body of work, but the work that I have done over the last 40 years in the service of Black people is because I read 100 books a year. Right? I'm a subject matter expert in networking and economic development, and I've read every book written on those subjects, and I've written my own books on those subjects, especially in the area of networking and economic development. I wrote the modern day classic Success Runs in Our Race, the complete guide to effective networking in the African American community. I wrote this book nearly 30 years ago. It is a modern day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation and started the networking movement. It's a book that you can still buy on Amazon. How many books do you know of that you can, 30 years old, that you can still buy on Amazon that isn't the Bible, right? So that's A. B, I wrote a book, Networking 2.0. And this is Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships, and how you use those relationships to develop your own economic base, right? So this is Networking 2.0. So not only am I writing, I am reading. This is what we have to do. And we have no choice in that. And so the average American only reads 1 book a year. If you read 1 book a month, in 5 years, you will have read 60 books, and the average American will have only read 5. Brothers and sisters, read. As the old saying goes, you've heard it a million times. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. All right? I am self-educated. I have the discipline to read at least 1,000 words every single day. There is no day that I do not read 1,000 words. Right? Most of them, 90% out of various books, other things that are on social media that are worth reading. So reading is critical to your success. And we have to become better readers. And we have to become committed to reading as a black people.
I agree.
I know Kevin Hart had a story about his mom. I don't know if it was a Bible or just a
Bible.
A Bible. And she kept telling him to read it, and he wouldn't. And he'd go back, and she like, did you read? He like, no. And then she'd go back, did you read? No. And when he finally read it, she left him $100 in there.
Yeah.
So you're right.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have a question about, you said you were talking about starting businesses. Some people are fearful, but I don't think of trying. I don't think it's wrong to fail when you try. I think it's wrong not to try. Can you speak on any failures that made you better?
Oh, my goodness. You ask some incredible questions. Yes, I have failed my way to success. Make no mistake about that. And if you're going to succeed, you are going to fail. That's part of succeeding. My favorite quote outside of the Bible is by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. It was Marcus Aurelius who said, the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Now, that may have gone over some people's head, but let me repeat that for you. The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way.
Yeah.
Right? So, said another way, the obstacle, your failures, is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way.
No way. Right.
All right? Right? What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that he has prepared you properly for? He gives you that assignment, and then he puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle so that you can learn the lessons, you can stumble, right? You can fail, extract those lessons. And then when you do that, and you overcome those obstacles, God gives you an attaboy or an attagirl, and then he gives you your next assignment at a slightly higher level. And then what does God do when he gives you that assignment? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle, right? Learn from those lessons, and then, right, you get a new assignment. And when you think back over your entire life, your life is about failure. Your life is about learning the lessons from the things that you stumble over, the mistakes that you made. You learn from those mistakes. What is the best lesson in life? Your last mistake. That's the best lesson that you will have in life. It's your last mistake. Just don't repeat the mistake. Learn from the mistake. So I have, at 75 years old, I can't even count the mistakes and lessons I have learned. But in fact, I've used those lessons to take me to the next level, then the next level, then the next level. So our whole life, in a sense, is about making mistakes. James Baldwin. I love James Baldwin. I grew up on James Baldwin. James Baldwin said it beautifully. James Baldwin said, we are born, we suffer, and then we die. That's what James Baldwin said, right?
Yep.
And I think about that, unpack that. What did he mean by that? What he meant by that is that the way you manage your suffering, the way you manage your failures and mistakes will determine the meaning of the dash between the year you were born and the year you die. We're all going to suffer. Jesus was crucified. Right? So there are no exceptions to the rule. You are going to have to fail. You're going to have to make mistakes. You're going to have to stumble to learn. This is part of the growth process.
Yeah.
right? So get with the program and figure it out, because good ideas take time to grow,
All the
right?
time.
So I stumbled into success. That's really what I did. I stumbled into success, but I never stopped. I never gave up. It never dissuaded me. How many times did I fall off the horse? Hundreds of times. And every time I fell off the horse, I got back on that horse, right? And I learned something.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, everything you want in life is on the other side of hard.
Yeah. Correct.
Right? Don't listen to the naysayers in your life. They're going to tell you to stop. They're going to say, yeah, don't, isn't that bump on your head large enough? You want another bump, right? So I have learned in my life, Miles,
Yes.
that I will no longer debate Negroes that Harriet Tubman would have shot. Right?
I just got to that point in my life. I don't argue with people anymore
Right.
about nothing.
Nothing.
So-
Right? Right? Because not everything is for everybody.
At all.
Right? No, not everything is for everybody, but there is something for everybody. But if you're making something for everybody, you're making something for nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
Good one. Yes.
Right? So these ideas are foundational in terms of how we need to comport and to conduct our lives. Failure is a part of life.
Yes.
Get with the program. Learn from your mistakes.
And if people can't realize that, I think at this point in time, like I'm 49 years old, I can't, George, I swear to God, I can't wait till I get 75. What do you say?
You're going to be an elder and you're going to be brilliant.
Thank you, sir. But what do you say to people who believe the age has something to do with success?
Well, have you guys been rehearsing?
No, sir, not at all.
These great questions, because they segue so beautifully into something I want to say. Age. There was an incredible study published 2 years ago by the New England Journal of Medicine. And the study was a national study on the 3 most productive periods of your life. And what they found was age had a lot to do with it. That the 3rd most productive period of your life is between 50 and 60. That's the 3rd most productive period of your life. The 2nd most productive period of your life is between 70 and 80. And the number 1 most productive period of your life is between 60 and 70.
Wow.
The average age of a Nobel Prize winner is 62. The average age of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company is 63. The average age of pastors of the 100 largest mega churches in America is 71. The average age of, let me say that differently. Moses was 80 when he got his assignment from God. Mandela became president of South Africa when he was 76. Ray Kroc founded McDonald's when he was close to 60 years old. Toni Morrison won her first Nobel Prize, won her Pulitzer Prize for the book Beloved at 57. Then she won the Nobel Prize at 62. Frank Lloyd Wright, I'm into architecture. I grew up in New York, who built the Guggenheim Museum. That was his magnum opus. I watched it being built as I was growing up on the streets of New York back in the day. He completed his magnum opus at 91. So what am I saying to you? If you're between 0 and 49 years old, you ain't done nothing yet.
Right there.
You ain't done nothing. Your best stuff is in front of you. You are just learning. You're making the mistakes that you need to make, right? And you're learning and you're growing and you're applying those mistakes. And it's when you reach 50 years old the third most productive period of your life is when you will start doing your best stuff. I'm 75 and I'm doing my best stuff right now at 75. I have pivoted, I talked to you about earlier, from my globetrotting speaking career to an online speaking career, making more money. Wow. And I don't have to go anywhere. I was traveling 150,000 miles a year. I have 9.5 million frequent flyer miles. You know, the kind of wear and tear that is on you. Now I do it right from my desk in my office. And I reached thousands of more people in a Zoom call than I reached in 10 live speaking calls or speaking appearances.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So for those of you out there who are 0 to 49, keep doing what you're doing. Keep reading. Keep experimenting. Keep innovating. Keep pivoting. Keep your hustle on. And by the time you reach 50, you'll be ready to do what God has put you here to do.
Okay. Well,
right now, you're just learning.
Right. So we're going to open up the phone. If anybody want to give us a call at 248-854-9850. The number is 248-854-9850. We got Dr. George Fraser, the great Dr. George Fraser on the call in the building, on your computer screen, on your phone screen. We live, y'all. This is podcasting, the Rise and Grind Morning Show. And look, we went commercial free today. So if we went commercial free, it's some knowledge being dropped. George, I have another question for you. D, you got anything you want to ask him?
Well, yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Dr. Fraser, we had a guest here maybe a week ago, and I asked him about, what triggered him to become a businessman. He said he watched his father as a kid build signs for people's businesses. And so I'm asking you, being an elder, you look great for 75.
Thank you.
What triggered you? At what age did you want to become a businessman and an entrepreneur?
That's another great question. I think you should get as much education as you can get. In my case, I got a vocational diploma in woodworking, right? That was not enough for me to go into business, right? My first job was mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport. I loved that job. I couldn't get a job as a carpenter because the Italians controlled the carpentry industry in New York, so that's the only job I could get. It was for the Port Authority, mopping floors, cleaning latrines and toilets on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport. I did that job for 3 years. If you go to LaGuardia Airport, you go down into the maintenance department, there's a plaque on the wall. That's me on the plaque at 22 years old. Why? Because I was the best floor mopper in the history of LaGuardia Airport. Right? That's right. And why was I? Because I took ownership. They were my floors. Those were my toilets. Those were my, that was my latrine. I took ownership in that. I took pride in that. Dr. King spoke eloquently to that. It doesn't matter what you do it with excellence, right? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Jesus. How you do everything, right? So I tell brothers and sisters all the time, chase excellence, never chase money. When you're excellent at whatever it is that you do, you will not be able to get out of the way of money. Money will find you. The focus is excellence. So I started out, right, even mopping floors, doing it with excellence. I was an award-winning floor mopper. Right. So
I just heard that accent too.
Yeah,
right. There you go.
Brooklyn just came out in you.
That's right. So, ask what was the essence of that question again? Because I went on a rant. I went off on a story.
No, you didn't.
Remind me of the question again, because I was going somewhere with it.
You were speaking of excellence. You were talking about you was the best floor mopper. Period.
And what triggered you to want to become? What triggered you to want to become an entrepreneur?
Oh, yes. Okay. That's right. So that's number one, is to have an attitude of excellence. Whatever it is you do, however minor it is, learn first. I wasn't ready to become an entrepreneur. I was ready to mop floors with excellence, right? And then because I did the job so well, believe it or not, my next job came from a person who was using the bathroom I was cleaning at the time at LaGuardia Airport. He liked my attitude and the way I approached the job and asked me if I wanted a job selling encyclopedias. I said, well, I read, but I don't know anything about selling it. He said, we'll teach you. I work for Encyclopedia Britannica. I like your attitude. And I think you look good and you're positive. And I can teach you how to sell this door to door. And I can teach you how to do that. I said, okay. And I began selling Encyclopedia Britannica. You know who I was selling Encyclopedia Britannica with?
What was that?
Maynard Jackson, the great mayor of Atlanta. He was also an Encyclopedia Britannica salesman.
Wow.
So I learned how to sell. I rose to the top, right? I made a lot of money doing it. And my next position was someone who I sold a set of Britannicas to, liked my presentation, liked my attitude, and then offered me a job. And I took that job. Then I decided, well, maybe I'm going to try this entrepreneurial thing. I had about 4 or 5 years of real life experience. I had learned some things. And so what did I do? I started with a business selling Black history encyclopedias. That's what I knew how to do. So I opened a company called Black Educational Development. And I was the first person basically in Ohio to sell the what's the name of them? I have them over here. But it was a 10-volume set of Black history encyclopedias, the first one ever developed. I got the rights for Ohio, and I set up shop selling Black history materials to schools, colleges, and universities, and to middle-class Black families that wanted Black history material in their home. The name of the set is the International Library of Negro Life and History, right?
Wow.
And I made a fortune doing that. Then a good friend of mine came to me and said, man, you have good entrepreneurial skills, you have good presentation skills, good sales skills. Procter & Gamble has asked me, this is now back in the 70s, right, to try to recruit some African Americans that want a more diverse workforce, and if I could recommend some people to them, that's my job. They're going to pay me for every person I recommend and every person that interviewed. If you just do me a favor, George, if you would just interview with Procter & Gamble, whether you get the job or not. I know you don't have a college degree. The requirement is a college degree, but just interview, because I think you'll do good in the interview. I did. I nailed the interview. Procter & Gamble hired me, the first person they've ever hired without a college degree. I stayed with Procter & Gamble for 13 years. And then I was recruited away from Procter & Gamble by a good sister who was chairman of the board of United Way to become president of, not president, but vice president of United Way. And then from there, I was recruited away by a good friend who was starting the Ford Motor Dealer Development Program. I was to be the first Black Ford Lincoln Mercury dealer in Cleveland, Ohio. All right. I took that job to learn how to be a Ford Motor dealership. I graduated, only 12 of us selected, 12 Black people around the country, Black men. And I graduated #1 in that class and decided I didn't want to sell cars, that I wanted to do my own thing, that I wanted to teach my people how to network, how to sell, right? How to build relationships, how to build their wallet, and how to get their hustle on. And I decided that I would start my own business, much to the chagrin of my wife. I know it's a long story. Why? I wanted to learn first. I don't recommend that anybody graduate from high school or college and start a business. A business is no joke. Get some experience. Work for somebody that is already in the business that you think that you want to be. You want to go into the restaurant business, work in a damn restaurant. If you all want to own a franchise someday, work in a damn McDonald's, flip hamburgers. Right. Get some experience.
Yes. Get
out there in the real world. Learn on somebody else's dime. So I had 20 years of learning on somebody else's dime. I started my businesses at 42. At 42.
Okay.
Right. I was ready. I had made mistakes. I had screwed up a lot of Procter & Gamble's money, a lot of United Way's money, right? Making mistakes.
Right.
And I had learned.
Right.
And Ford's money. So that's what I recommend. Get some knowledge, get some experience, hang out with brothers and sisters who are entrepreneurs, who are succeeding. As I said, there's a system for everything. Learn their system and then copy their system.
Right. That's dope. So, George, we really appreciate you coming aboard this morning. Of course, you are a wealth of knowledge. We couldn't. Can you tell people how they can find you? When is the next Power Network conference?
Sure.
And go from there.
Sure. The next Power Networking conference is virtual. The next live conference is next July in Houston, Texas, 2022, when we will feel safe to be around each other. The virtual conference is August the 11th through the 14th. That's $297 to come on a 4-day virtual conference. That will be thebomb.com. I guarantee you, you will get more than $297 worth of knowledge out of this conference when you look at the people who will be on. We'll start promoting the conference next week. If you would like to come to the live conference next year, you can do that too. A live conference registration for an adult is $995, and we encourage you to bring a student. That's $600. So if you want to come live next year, that's $1,000. Let's say $995. If you want to bring a young person, 17 to 25, that's $600. That's $1,600. If you want to come to the virtual conference this year, that's $300. Right? So what I'm going to do is, so that's about $2,000. I'm going to give you that $2,000 package. You can come live next year and bring a young person and attend the virtual this year. I'm going to give you all three of those things, not for $2,000, which is the rack rate, but for $499. $499, right?
Wow.
So that is a $1,500 discount. Now there's a catch to it. I'm going to give it to the first 5 people who take advantage of this opportunity. And the way you do it is you email me, gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, F-R-A-S-E-R, at frasernet.com. In the subject line, say I'm in. In the body of the email, just put your name and your cell number. Put your name and your cell number, and I will personally call you, and we will handle our business over the phone. You will get the live conference next year for 1 adult and 1 young person, 17 to 25, which is normally $1,600. And you will get the virtual conference coming up in August. So you've got a $1,500 discount. It's good for the first 5 people that raise their hand, that email me, say I'm in. We'll handle it by credit card over the phone. Make sure your cell phone number is in there. That's my gift to your show. Because I love you. I love the work that both of you are doing. I love how you are feeding our people and serving our people and adding value to their lives. I am a servant leader. Both of you are servant leaders. I know you're well read because you ask incredibly good questions.
Thank you, George. Hey, y'all, our time is up. Thank you for watching the Rise and Grind Morning
I got
Show.
100 more questions.
I'm sure we get George.
Man.
We'll get George back on later when
Hey, Miles, I owe you one. I owe you one, Miles.
No problem.
I owe you one. So I'll be back on.
Okay. So we'll get him back on before the virtual conference and put some push onto it. Thank you very much, George. We appreciate you. Okay. Y'all,
I appreciate you, man. Love you. Keep doing God's work. Stay the course.
Yes, sir. Until next time, y'all, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Hey, yeah. Up early in the morning, getting the kids ready for school. Rise and grind, yeah. Pack a lunch or 2. Talking about I gotta be at work in a few, yeah. Hey.